The stars looked different this far from Earth. Captain Tae-sung stood on the bridge of the UES horizon, watching the view screen display a sight no human had seen before. Dozens of massive ships floated in formation, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. Their hulls gleamed with a strange crimson metal that seemed to pulse with inner light. "Sir, they're hailing us again," said Da-un from her station. The science officer's voice was steady, but Tae-sung could hear the excitement underneath. This was why they had come to the stars. To find others. "Put them through," Tae-sung said. The alien face that appeared on screen was beautiful in a way that made his breath catch. Her skin was deep red, marked with glowing patterns that shifted like living art. Her eyes were large and golden, filled with an intelligence that made him feel very young despite his 40 years. "Captain Tae-sung of Earth," the translator made her voice sound melodic, almost sad. "I am Queen Aravel of the Valrosian Empire. We have been waiting for you." "Waiting for us?" Tae-sung felt his crew shift nervously behind him. "Your Majesty, we didn't know you existed until 3 days ago. But we have known of humans for much longer." The Queen's patterns pulsed brighter. "We have watched your species spread from your homeworld. We have studied you, and now we need you." The words hung in the air like a challenge. Tae-sung chose his next words carefully. "What does your empire need from Earth?" "Not from Earth, Captain. From you." The Queen leaned forward. "I request a meeting. Face to face. You and your senior staff. I will explain everything, but not over communication channels. What I offer is too important for that." Tae-sung looked at his crew. Communications Officer Hyunwoo was already checking for traps. Security Chief Dong-hae had his hand near the alert button. But Da-un was nodding slowly, her scientist's curiosity winning over caution. "We accept," Tae-sung said. "When and where?" 6 hours later, Tae-sung stood in the shuttle bay with Da-un and Dong-hae. The security chief had insisted on coming, and Tae-sung was glad for it. The three of them wore their formal uniforms, medals polished, ready to represent humanity. The Valrosian flagship was enormous inside. The walls glowed softly, and the air tasted like strange flowers. Valrosian soldiers lined their path, each one tall and graceful, their skin marked with those hypnotic glowing patterns. But Tae-sung noticed something else. They looked tired. Their movements were precise but somehow lacking energy. The throne room was vast. Queen Aravel sat on a raised platform, and beside her stood a younger Valrosian woman. The patterns on the younger woman's skin were brighter, more vibrant, and her golden eyes watched the humans with open curiosity. "Welcome," Queen Aravel said. "Thank you for your trust. Let me introduce my daughter, Princess Lysera." The princess bowed her head slightly. Tae-sung and his team returned the gesture. "Please sit." The queen gestured to chairs that seemed to grow from the floor itself. "What I am about to tell you is known only to our highest officials. Our empire spans 40 star systems. We have technology you cannot imagine. We have lived among the stars for 10,000 years. She paused, and her glowing patterns dimmed. "And we are dying." The words hit like a physical blow. Dae-young gasped. Even Dong-hae straightened in surprise. "Dying?" Tae-sung asked. "How?" "Our species has reached what your scientists would call an evolutionary dead end," the queen explained. "For thousands of years we have controlled our genetics, breeding only the best traits, eliminating weakness. We became perfect," her voice turned bitter. "Too perfect. We have no genetic diversity left. Our immune systems are failing. New diseases spread through our populations like fire. We are trying to manage it, but every year we lose more. In another century, perhaps 2, the Valrosian people will be extinct." Da-un leaned forward. "But surely your medical technology—" "We have tried everything," Princess Lysera spoke for the first time. Her voice was younger, sharper than her mother's. "Every treatment we develop works for a while, then fails. Our bodies are too similar. What kills one of us can kill millions. We need something we eliminated long ago. Chaos, unpredictability, genetic diversity. That's where humans come in," the queen said. She stood, and despite her words about dying, she looked powerful, regal. "We have studied your species for decades. Your biology is remarkable, chaotic. Your immune systems are aggressive beyond anything we've seen. You adapt to diseases that would destroy us. You survive radiation, temperature extremes, toxins. You should not be as strong as you are, yet somehow you thrive." Tae-sung felt a strange pride at those words, but also confusion. You want our medical knowledge? No, the Queen said. We want your genetics. The room fell silent. Taesung heard his own heartbeat. Your Majesty, he said slowly, are you asking for? I am asking you to marry my daughter, Queen Aravel said, and the universe seemed to tilt. I am asking you to create children with her. Hybrids, half human, half Valrosian. Our scientists believe such children would have advantages neither species possesses alone. Your adaptability combined with our regenerative abilities, your genetic chaos controlled by our cellular precision. Taesung couldn't speak. Beside him, Daun made a small noise. Donghai's hand had moved to his weapon, then away, then back, like he couldn't decide if this was an attack or not. I know how this sounds, Princess Lysara said, and now Taesung saw something in her eyes. Fear. I know this seems insane, but please understand, this is not just about saving my people. Our empire is one of the largest in this region of space. If we fall, the power vacuum will cause wars that could kill billions across hundreds of worlds. And beyond that, she paused. Beyond that, we have art, music, science, history spanning 10,000 years. Should all of that die because we made ourselves too perfect?
Why me?
Taesung finally found his voice. I'm a ship captain. Not a diplomat. Not a scientist. Why not ask for volunteers from Earth? Why not negotiate with our government? We need someone now, the Queen said. And not just anyone. We studied your crew carefully. You, Captain, have the genetic markers we need most. Robust immune response, high adaptability factors, excellent cellular repair mechanisms, and beyond that, your psychological profile suggests you can handle the pressure of what we are asking. The pressure, Taesung repeated numbly. You would be the father of a new subspecies, the Queen said simply. The first bridge between humans and Valrosians. Your children would be studied, celebrated, and burdened with the hopes of two civilizations. I will not lie to you, Captain. This would change your life completely. You would never be just Taesung again. He looked at Princess Lysara. She met his eyes, and he saw she was as terrified as he was. I need time, Taesung said. This is not a decision I can make in a moment. You have 3 days, Queen Aravel said. After that, we must begin looking at other options, other species, other desperate solutions. I hope you understand, Captain. I am not asking this lightly. If there was any other way, I would take it. But I am a queen before I am a mother, and I will do whatever I must to save my people. The meeting ended soon after. As they walked back to the shuttle, Donghai muttered, This is insane. This is first contact, Daun whispered, her eyes distant. And it's nothing like we imagined. Taesung said nothing. He was thinking about golden eyes filled with fear, about a civilization 10,000 years old facing extinction, about a princess who would marry a stranger to save her people. He was thinking about what it meant to be human, and whether being humanity's strength made it his responsibility to help. 3 days to decide. 3 days to choose between his life and history. Part 5, Children of Two Worlds. The funeral lasted 3 days. Humans and Valrosians stood together in the memorial hall, sharing grief in 2 languages. Donghai's name was carved in stone alongside 300 others who had fallen in the war. Captain Gilsu's name was there. Valrosian soldiers who died defending human colonies. Human pilots who gave their lives protecting Valrosian refugees. Taesung gave the eulogy for Donghai, his voice breaking only once. He believed in protecting people. All people. It didn't matter to him if you were human or Valrosian or anything else. He believed in doing what was right. He paused, looking at Lys holding Hana. He died protecting my daughter, our daughter, and in doing that he showed us what we can be when we stand together. Commander Thelyan spoke next, in Valrosian that the translators rendered into Korean. I knew Donghai for only 6 months. In that time he became my friend, my brother. He taught me that humans are not chaos. They are courage. They are heart. They are the fire that burns away our fear. He placed his hand over his chest in Valrosian salute. I will carry his memory until my patterns fade. After the funeral, work began. The war had ended, but its scars remained. 12 colonies needed rebuilding. Thousands of refugees needed homes. The political landscape had shifted dramatically, and everyone was scrambling to understand the new reality. Earth Command offered Taesung an admiralty. The Valrosian queen offered him a position as ambassador. He turned them both down. I have a different idea, he told them during the joint conference. On-screen, Queen Aravel watched from the Valrosian homeworld. On another screen, Earth's Secretary of State looked tired but interested. We need something new, Tae-sung continued. Not a human station, not a Valrosian station, a joint embassy, neutral ground where both civilizations can meet, trade, learn. Listen, I could run it together. You want to be a bureaucrat? The secretary asked, surprised. I want to build something, Tae-sung said. The war proved we can fight together. Now we need to prove we can live together. 6 months later, the United Embassy Station opened in neutral space between human and Valrosian territories. It was a massive structure, half human engineering and half Valrosian biotechnology. The architecture was a fusion of both styles, creating something entirely new. Tae-sung and Lis moved into the ambassadorial quarters with Hana, who was now 8 months old and crawling everywhere. The baby was a constant source of wonder. Her hybrid biology exceeded every projection. When she got a cut, it healed in hours. When she got sick, her immune system destroyed the infection in days. She was strong, healthy, and frighteningly smart for her age. She tried to say her first word today, Lis told Tae-sung one evening. They were watching Hana play with a Valrosian toy that changed colors. What did she say? I'm not sure. It sounded like Appa, but also like Veltan. I think she's trying to speak both languages at once, Tae-sung laughed. Of course she is. Our daughter doesn't do anything halfway. Their relationship had changed during the war. They had been partners by necessity, then friends by choice. Now they were something more. It had happened gradually in stolen moments between battles and politics. A kiss after a long day, falling asleep in each other's arms, choosing to share quarters not because they had to, but because they wanted to. I love you, Lis said one night, the words coming suddenly. I didn't mean to. I didn't plan for it. But I do. Tae-sung pulled her close. I love you too. Somewhere between saving the galaxy and raising a baby. I fell for you completely. That's terribly inconvenient, Lis said. But she was smiling. The best things usually are, Tae-sung replied. Dr. Ji-won visited the station frequently, bringing news from her research. She and Presvel had been working on genetic therapies using what they learned from Hana's biology. The results were promising. We can't cure the Valrosian genetic collapse overnight, Ji-won explained during one briefing. But we can slow it down, buy time, and we can do it without requiring mass interbreeding programs. How? Queen Aravel asked via hologram. Genetic therapy using human adaptability factors, Presvel explained. We extract certain elements from human DNA and introduce them to Valrosian genetics in a controlled way. It increases genetic diversity without creating hybrids. It's not as effective as natural hybrid children, but it's a start. And the hybrid program, the Queen asked, should remain voluntary, Lis said firmly. My daughter is not a template for forced breeding. If humans and Valrosians want to marry and have children, that's their choice. But we won't mandate it, the Queen nodded slowly. Agreed. Your daughter has already given us hope. That's more than I dared dream. The cultural exchange surprised everyone with its speed and depth. Humans loved Valrosian biotechnology and art. Valrosians were fascinated by human music, food, and what they called creative chaos. Exchange programs filled up within days. Universities on both sides started joint research projects. Hyunwoo, promoted to Director of Communications, built a network connecting human and Valrosian systems. Information wants to be free, he said, echoing an old Earth philosophy. And the more we talk, the more we understand each other. Tae-sung's sister Sora arrived at the station 6 months after it opened, bringing a team of human geneticists. She had been working on the Valrosian problem from a different angle. Gene banks, she explained. We collect genetic material from diverse sources across the Valrosian Empire. Store it. Use it to increase diversity through controlled reproduction programs. Combined with G1's therapy, it could extend the Valrosian species timeline by centuries. Buying time for more permanent solutions, Lis said. Exactly, Sora confirmed. Your daughter proved hybrids work, but we need options that don't require humans and Valrosians to interbreed. Some will want to, many won't. Both choices should be valid. The work was slow and complex, but progress happened. Valrosian birth rates stabilized. Disease mortality dropped. Hope, That rarest of commodities began to spread. Other alien civilizations watched the human-Valrosian alliance with mixed reactions. Some, like the Methic that Liss had studied, reached out with interest. Others, like what remained of the Orthanic collective, retreated into isolation. The political landscape was shifting, and humanity's role in it was growing. "They're calling us the Chaos Species," Dowen reported during one briefing. She had been promoted to Chief Science Advisor. Some civilizations admire it. Others fear it. But everyone's watching. "Let them watch," Tae-sung said. "We'll show them what humans do best. We adapt, we survive. We help others do the same." 10 years passed. Hana grew into a bright, curious child who spoke 3 languages and could name every star system in the local sector. She had her mother's love of science and her father's sense of duty. She also had friends, both human and Valrosian, and thought nothing of the differences between them. "Mom says I'm special because I'm both human and Valrosian," she told Tae-sung one day. "But I think everyone's special. Commander Thelyan is strong. Aunt Ji-won is smart. Uncle Hyunwoo tells the best stories. We're all special in different ways." Tae-sung hugged his daughter, feeling his heart swell with pride. "You're absolutely right. Hana wasn't alone anymore. Other human Valrosian families had formed. 23 hybrid children had been born in the past decade. Each one was healthy, unique, and proof that 2 species could become one. The United Embassy Station had grown into a city in space. Thousands lived there, working, learning, building. Human restaurants served Valrosian customers. Valrosian teachers instructed human students. Mixed marriages were no longer scandalous. They were just marriages. Queen Aravel visited the station on the 10th anniversary of its founding. She was older now, her patterns dimmer, but her eyes were still sharp. She asked to meet Hana privately. Tae-sung and Liss watched nervously as the queen spoke with their daughter. They couldn't hear the conversation, but they saw Hana laugh and the queen smile. Afterward, the queen approached them. "Your daughter asked me if I regretted forcing you to marry." "What did you say?" Liss asked. "I told her the truth, that I regret the necessity. I regret that you didn't get to choose freely, but I cannot regret the result." She looked at Hana playing with Valrosian children nearby. "She and all the children like her are our future. You gave us that, both of you." "We didn't do it alone," Tae-sung said, thinking of Dong-hai, Gil-soo, and all the others who had sacrificed. "No," the queen agreed. "That's the point, isn't it? None of us can do it alone. That's what humans taught us. That's what makes you special." She left shortly after, but her words stayed with them. That night, Tae-sung and Liss stood in the observation deck, watching ships from a dozen species dock at the station. Hana was asleep in their quarters, dreaming child dreams about stars and adventures. "Do you regret it?" Liss asked quietly. "Any of it?" Tae-sung thought about the day the queen had made her offer. About the fear and uncertainty. About Dong-hai's sacrifice and the war and the weight of responsibility. He thought about sleepless nights and political headaches and the constant pressure of being symbols instead of people. Then he thought about his daughter's laugh. About falling in love with a woman from another world. About building something that would outlast them both. "No," he said simply. "Not even a little." "Good," Liss said, leaning against him. Part 3. Bonds of Fire. The wedding was broadcast across 40 star systems and reached Earth 3 weeks later. Tae-sung stood in ceremonial armor that was half human military uniform, half Valrosian royal garments. The combined effect made him look like something from a dream. Beside him, Liss wore flowing robes that caught the light, her patterns glowing bright gold with what the translator said was joy mixed with nervousness. The ceremony took 4 hours. Tae-sung spoke his vows in Korean, then Valrosian. Liss spoke hers in Valrosian, then attempted Korean. She stumbled on the pronunciation, and he heard her whisper sorry in his language. He squeezed her hand gently. They were trying. That was what mattered. When it was done, they were married. The crowds of both species cheered. Tae-sung looked at his new wife and saw the same thought in her eyes. Now what? The answer came faster than either expected. Dr. Ji-won had been working with Valrosian geneticists for weeks. 3 months after the wedding, she called Tae-sung and Liss to the medical bay with urgent news. "I need you both to sit down," Ji-won said, which was never a good sign. They sat. Tae-sung felt Liss grip his hand tightly. "The genetic compatibility is better than we dreamed. Jiwan said. Human Valrosian hybrids are not just possible. They're advantageous. The models show children with human immune adaptability and Valrosian regenerative abilities. They would be stronger, heal faster, live longer, and resist diseases better than either parent species. That's good news, isn't it? Liz asked. It's extraordinary news, Jiwan corrected. Which means others will want to stop it. She was right. 2 days later, during a public appearance at a Valrosian space station, someone tried to kill them. Tae-sung and Liz were walking through a market surrounded by security. They had wanted to show unity, to let both species see them together. The station was beautiful, filled with shops and gardens and thousands of people from dozens of worlds. The bomb was small but well placed. It detonated in a shop they had just passed, sending fragments of metal and glass everywhere. Tae-sung heard the explosion and reacted on instinct, throwing himself over Liz and pulling her down. Something sharp cut across his back. Pain exploded through him. Then Donghai was there, shouting orders. Valrosian guards surrounded them. Someone was screaming. Tae-sung felt hands pulling him up, felt blood running down his spine. Tae-sung. Liz was crying, her hands glowing as she tried to check his injury. You're hurt, why did you? I'm fine, he gasped, though he definitely wasn't. Are you hurt? No, you covered me, you stupid brave human. She was crying and angry and terrified all at once. The security teams moved them to a safe room. Dr. Jiwan arrived within minutes, already cursing in 3 languages. She worked on Tae-sung's back while Valrosian medics scanned Liz for injuries. 13 stitches, Jiwan announced. You'll have a scar. Could have been much worse. Who did this? Liz demanded. Her patterns had turned dark red, almost black. Tae-sung had learned this meant rage. The answer came from an unexpected source. Intelligence Officer Ye-jin had been investigating suspicious communications for weeks. Now she had proof. High Advisor Korsin, she said, showing them data files. He's been planning this. He has supporters who believe mixing with humans is an abomination. They wanted to stop the marriage from producing children. Too late for that, Jiwan said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. I was going to tell you tomorrow, Jiwan said to Liz. But given the circumstances, you're pregnant. About 3 weeks along, the room went absolutely silent. Tae-sung felt the universe tilt again, like it had when the queen first made her offer. He was going to be a father. A father to the first human Valrosian hybrid. A father to a child who would carry the weight of 2 civilizations. Liz made a sound he couldn't interpret. Then she was hugging him, careful of his injury, crying into his shoulder. We're going to have a baby, she whispered. Tae-sung, we're going to have a baby. He held her with one arm, the other restricted by Jiwan's medical work. Yeah, he said, his own voice thick. We are. The news spread like wildfire. Earth celebrated. The Valrosian Empire celebrated. And somewhere in the shadows, Advisor Korsin and his followers planned their next move. The pregnancy was not easy. Valrosian pregnancies lasted 8 months, but human genetics complicated things. Jiwan and her Valrosian colleague Presvel monitored Liz constantly. The baby was growing faster than expected, showing hybrid vigor that exceeded all models. Tae-sung watched his wife change. She became more protective, more fierce. Once, when a reporter asked an invasive question about the baby's genetics, Liz had responded with such cold fury that the reporter apologized 3 times. Tae-sung fell a little bit in love with her in that moment. Their relationship had grown in unexpected ways. They still had separate quarters by mutual agreement, but Tae-sung found himself spending more time in Liz's rooms and she in his. They would talk late into the night about everything and nothing. She taught him Valrosian history. He taught her Korean cooking badly, making her laugh when he burned rice. I never expected this, she said one night, her hand on her growing belly. I thought it would always be duty, just duty. But you made me laugh today. Is that bad? Tae-sung asked. No. She looked at him with those golden eyes. It's confusing. I was supposed to do my duty and produce an heir. I wasn't supposed to care about the father. Do you? The question was out before Tae-sung could stop it. Care, I mean. Liz was quiet for a long moment. I'm starting to, she admitted. That terrifies me. Me too, Tae-sung said honestly. They kissed that night. It was tentative, awkward, neither quite sure if they were moving too fast or too slow, but it felt right. It felt like a beginning. The assassination attempt came 3 months into the pregnancy. This time Corson was more direct. He had gathered supporters from multiple Valrosian colonies, conservatives who saw human Valrosian mixing as an abomination. They attacked during a ceremony commemorating the marriage alliance. Corson himself led the attack, armed with Valrosian plasma weapons. He was targeting Liz specifically, trying to kill her and the unborn child. "You disgrace our people," he shouted. "Breeding with animals." Taesung saw red. He launched himself at the advisor, tackling him before he could fire. They fought hand to hand, and Taesung learned something. Valrosians were stronger and faster, but humans fought dirty. He used every trick Dong Hai had taught him, every desperate move from training. Security arrived within seconds. Dong Hai himself took Corson down with a stun blast. The advisor collapsed, still shouting about purity and tradition. "Are you insane?" Dong Hai snapped at Taesung. "You could have been killed." "He was going to shoot my wife," Taesung panted, bleeding from a cut on his face. "My pregnant wife. What did you expect me to do?" Dong Hai looked at him for a long moment, then smiled grimly. "Fair point, sir." Liz reached them, her security detail surrounding her. She knelt beside Taesung, scanning him for injuries. "You are the stupidest, bravest man I've ever met," she said, tears streaming down her face. "Is that a compliment?" Taesung asked. "I don't know anymore." Liz laughed through her tears. "I don't know anything anymore except that I don't want to lose you." "You won't," Taesung promised. "We're in this together now." Corson's arrest revealed something larger. Yejin's investigation found communications between the advisor and an external power, a rival alien faction called the Orthanic Collective. They had been encouraging Valrosian traditionalists, providing weapons and intelligence. They wanted the human Valrosian alliance to fail. "Why?" Liz asked during the security briefing. "Because together humans and Valrosians are a threat," Yejin explained. "Separate, you're manageable. United, you could shift the power balance in this entire region of space." "So they're going to attack," Taesung said. It wasn't a question. Eventually, Yejin confirmed. "We just don't know when." The answer came 2 weeks later. Liz went into premature labor during a state dinner. One moment she was fine, the next she was gasping, her patterns flashing in distress. "The baby," she gasped. "Something's wrong." Ji-won and Pressfell rushed her to medical. Taesung ran alongside the gurney, holding her hand. "You're going to be fine," he said. "Both of you. Promise." Liz asked, her voice small. "Promise," Taesung lied, because what else could he say? The delivery was complicated. The baby was coming early at 7 months, her hybrid biology causing unexpected complications. Ji-won worked with Valrosian medical technology while Pressfell monitored life signs. Taesung held Liz's hand as she screamed, her patterns flashing wildly. Then, after 3 hours that felt like years, there was a new sound, a cry, high and strong and alive. "It's a girl," Ji-won said, her voice full of wonder. "A healthy girl." They placed the baby in Liz's arms. She was tiny, with skin that was a perfect blend of human and Valrosian coloring. Her patterns glowed faintly, pulsing with colors never seen in pure Valrosians. Her eyes, when they opened, were dark like her father's but shaped like her mother's. "Hana," Taesung whispered. "Her name is Hana. It means one in Korean, unity." Liz looked up at him, tears streaming. "It's perfect. She's perfect." In that moment, holding his wife and daughter, Taesung understood. This was bigger than politics or genetics or saving civilizations. This was family. This was love. This was worth fighting for. Part 4. When Stars Burn. Hana was 2 months old when the war came. The Orthanic Collective attacked without warning, hitting human and Valrosian colonies simultaneously across 3 star systems. The coordination was perfect, the brutality absolute. Within hours, millions were dead or displaced. The news reached Taesung and Liz as they were playing with their daughter in their quarters. "All ships to battle stations," the alert blared. "This is not a drill." Taesung and Liz looked at each other, then at Hana sleeping peacefully in her crib. The baby's patterns glowed softly, pulsing with dreams. "I have to go," Taesung said. "The horizon needs her captain." "We go together," Liz said firmly. "I have command authority over Valrosian vessels. Our people need to see us united, but Hana will come with us, with full security." Liz's patterns had turned the deep red of determination. "We don't hide. That's what they want. They want us to be afraid, to separate. We stand together or we fall separately." 30 minutes later, Tae-sung stood on the bridge of the horizon in full combat gear. Beside him, Liz wore Valrosian royal armor, her patterns glowing bright in war mode. Hana was secured in a special carrier designed by Ji-won, surrounded by guards. Status, Tae-sung ordered. Orthanic fleet in 3 groups, Daewon reported. They're hitting the colony on Madron 3, the human settlement on New Seoul, and the joint research station at Kelvin Point. How many ships? 40 confirmed. Maybe more, Yunwoo looked grim. Sir, we have 15 human ships and 20 Valrosian vessels in range. We're outnumbered. Then we make up for it in other ways, Tae-sung said. He opened a channel to the fleet. All vessels human and Valrosian. This is Captain Tae-sung. The enemy thinks we're separate forces. They think we'll fight like 2 different fleets. They're wrong. From now on, we fight as one. Human ships take point, Valrosian support. Use our differences as strength. Human unpredictability with Valrosian precision. Show them what we can do together. The battle was chaos. The Orthanic forces were well-trained and well-armed, but they had made a critical error. They had studied humans and Valrosians separately. They hadn't studied them working together. Human tactics were aggressive, improvisational. Captain Gilsoo of the freighter Morningstar saw his ship surrounded and did something insane. He redirected his cargo of mining explosives, set them to detonate, and rammed the Orthanic flagship at full speed. The explosion destroyed his ship and crippled the enemy command vessel. Gilsoo, Tae-sung shouted into the comm, but there was no response. Only static, sir, Seung-ho said quietly. He's gone, but he took their command ship with him. The sacrifice rallied the fleet. Valrosian precision covered human aggression. Human creativity exploited openings in Orthanic formations. What should have been a massacre became a battle, then a retreat. The Orthanic forces pulled back, regrouping, but the war was far from over. For 3 weeks, the combined fleet fought system by system. Tae-sung barely slept, living on coffee and adrenaline. Liz commanded Valrosian forces from the horizon, proving herself as tactical as any admiral. They worked together like they'd been doing it for years, anticipating each other's moves, covering each other's weaknesses. Hana slept through half the battles and cried through the others. Ji-won had set up a nursery in the protected section of the ship, but Liz refused to be far from her daughter for long. Between battles, Tae-sung would find his wife feeding Hana, singing Valrosian lullabies with tears on her face. I brought her into this, Liz whispered once. She's 2 months old and there's a war happening around her. We'll protect her, Tae-sung said. We'll protect all of them. The hardest battle came at the colony world of New Seoul. The Orthanic had occupied the planet, taking hostages. Among them were human civilians, including families who had moved there from Earth. The fleet couldn't bombard the planet without killing innocents. We need ground forces, Donghai said. Door-to-door fighting. I'll lead it, Tae-sung said immediately. No, Liz grabbed his arm. You're the fleet commander. You can't. I'm a soldier, Tae-sung said gently. Before I was a captain, I was infantry. My people are down there. I won't ask others to do what I won't. They argued for an hour. Finally, Liz made him promise to take Valrosian commander Thelyan with him. The tall warrior had become Donghai's counterpart, and the two worked together with frightening efficiency. The ground assault was brutal. Tae-sung led a mixed force of humans and Valrosians through the colony streets. The Orthanic fought hard, but they weren't prepared for the ferocity of the combined assault. Humans fought with desperate courage. Valrosians fought with calculated precision. Together, they were unstoppable. Tae-sung found himself fighting beside Thelyan in a warehouse district. The Valrosian moved like water, each strike precise. Tae-sung fought messier, more aggressive. They covered each other without speaking, instinct taking over. You fight well for a diplomat, Thelyan said during a brief pause. You're not bad for royalty, Tae-sung shot back. They freed the hostages by nightfall. Among them was a human family, parents, and 2 young children. The mother was crying as soldiers led them to safety. She stopped when she saw Tae-sung, recognizing his rank insignia. Thank you, she sobbed. Thank you for not leaving us. Tae-sung didn't know what to say. He just nodded and moved on. There were more people to save. The war turned when the combined fleet struck at the Orthanic supply lines. It was Liz's plan, a brilliant strategy that used human speed and Valrosian intelligence networks. They cut off 3 major supply routes simultaneously, starving the Orthanic forces of resources. But the enemy had one more card to play. They sent an assassination team after Hana. It happened during a brief rest period. Taesung and Lis were in their quarters, exhausted. Hana was sleeping nearby, guarded by 2 Valrosian soldiers and Donghai himself. Somehow, impossibly, 3 Orthanic agents got through. The alarms came too late. Taesung heard the plasma fire and ran. He found Donghai fighting 3 enemies at once, already injured. The security chief was holding them off from Hana's nursery with pure stubbornness. "Get back," Donghai shouted as one enemy rushed past him toward the baby. Taesung tackled the assassin, but another was right behind. He heard Lis scream, saw her dive in front of Hana's crib. Then Commander Thelion was there, moving with lethal grace. He cut down one assassin, then another, but the third got a shot off. The plasma blast hit Donghai square in the chest. The security chief went down hard. Taesung killed the last assassin and rushed to his friend. Blood was everywhere. Donghai's breathing was wet and rattling. "Hana!" Donghai gasped. "Is she safe?" Taesung said, tears streaming. "You saved her. You saved my daughter." Thelion knelt beside them, pressing emergency medical supplies to the wound. But they both knew. This was beyond field medicine. "Worth it," Donghai whispered. His eyes found Hana sleeping peacefully through the chaos, protected by her mother. Worth everything. Jiwon arrived too late. She tried anyway, working frantically, but the damage was too severe. Donghai died in Taesung's arms, surrounded by the family he had protected with his life. Commander Thelion stood guard over the body with tears on his face, and Taesung realized Valrosians and humans grieved the same way. They wept for their friends. They honored their heroes. They remembered. The news of the assassination attempt and Donghai's sacrifice spread through both fleets. Something shifted in the human and Valrosian forces. They weren't allies anymore. They were brothers and sisters. One of theirs had died protecting a hybrid child, and that made them all family. The final battle was fierce. The Orthanic threw everything they had at the combined fleet, but the humans and Valrosians fought with a unity that went beyond tactics. They fought for each other, for their families, for their future. When the Orthanic flagship finally retreated, limping away with half its systems destroyed, the cheers echoed across 40 star systems. Taesung stood on the bridge holding Hana in his arms. Lis stood beside him, her hand in his. Their daughter looked up at them with curious eyes, too young to understand the war that had raged around her. "We won," Lis said softly. "No," Taesung corrected, looking at their daughter. "We survived. Now the real work begins." Around them, human and Valrosian ships flew in formation, united by blood and sacrifice. Donghai's name would be remembered. Gilsu's sacrifice would be honored. And Hana would grow up in a galaxy where 2 species had learned to be one. But first they had to bury their dead. And that, Taesung thought, they would do together. Part 2. Between Two Worlds, the crew meeting lasted 4 hours. Taesung sat at the head of the conference table, listening to his officers argue about the most bizarre situation in human history. His head hurt. "We should contact Earth Command immediately," Donghai said for the 3rd time. "This is way above our authority. Let the politicians handle it." "By the time Earth responds, the deadline will be passed," Hyunwoo countered. The communications officer had been running calculations all morning. "We're 3 weeks from Earth at best speed. Even using quantum communication, the delay and bureaucracy would take days." "Good," Donghai shot back. "This shouldn't be one man's decision." "But it is," Da-un said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. The Queen chose Captain Taesung specifically. Not Earth, not humanity. Him. Even if Earth Command ordered him to accept, it would mean nothing if he says no. Taesung rubbed his temples. "Dr. Jiwon, you've been quiet." "Medical perspective?" The ship's doctor, a woman in her 50s with gray streaking her black hair, looked up from her tablet. "I've been reviewing the genetic data the Valrosians sent over. It's fascinating. And terrifying." "Explain," Taesung said. "They weren't lying about their situation. Their genetic diversity is almost 0. Imagine if every human on Earth was identical twins. That's what they're dealing with." As for human Valrosian hybrids, Jiwon shook her head in wonder. "The preliminary models suggest it could work. Our DNA is different, but compatible in ways that shouldn't be possible. It's like finding a puzzle piece from a different puzzle that somehow fits perfectly." "That's suspicious," Donghai muttered. "It's extraordinary," Jiwon corrected. "But yes, also suspicious. Either this is an incredible coincidence or someone designed it this way long ago. The room fell quiet at that implication. What about the captain? Asked Seung-ho, the first officer. Sir, with respect, you're being asked to marry an alien princess and start a new subspecies. How are you handling this? Tae-sung laughed, a short, bitter sound. I'm not. I keep waiting to wake up. Sir, Hyun-woo said gently, I know this is personal, but think about what this could mean for humanity. An alliance with an empire of 40 star systems. Access to technology thousands of years ahead of ours. A guaranteed place in galactic civilization. So I should do it for politics? Tae-sung's voice was sharper than he intended. I'm saying there's more at stake than just you, Hyun-woo replied. And I'm saying the captain is a person, not a bargaining chip, Dong-hai snapped. Before the argument could escalate, Tae-sung's console beeped. A message from the Valrosian flagship. He opened it and read aloud. Princess Lysara requests a private meeting. Just the two of us. She wants to talk. It could be a trap, Dong-hai said automatically. Or it could be two people in an impossible situation trying to talk honestly, Da-won suggested. Tae-sung stood. I'm going. Dong-hai, you can watch from the shuttle if it makes you feel better, but I'm talking to her alone. The meeting place was not on the flagship. Instead, Lysara had sent coordinates to a small observation platform attached to the Valrosian fleet. When Tae-sung arrived, he found a simple room with transparent walls showing the stars outside. The princess stood with her back to him, watching the distant glow of a nebula. Thank you for coming, she said without turning. You must think we're monsters. I think you're desperate, Tae-sung said honestly. There's a difference. She turned then, and in the starlight her glowing pattern seemed dimmer, sadder. I should tell you the truth. I don't want this. Any of this, the confession surprised him. Then why? Because I'm a princess. Because duty matters more than what I want. She moved to a bench by the window and sat, gesturing for him to join her. Do you know what my life was supposed to be? I'm a xenobiologist. I study alien life. I've spent years researching species across our empire. I was going to lead an expedition to catalog new worlds. She smiled sadly. Then our doctors told my mother that the genetic collapse was accelerating, that we had maybe a century left, and my plans stopped mattering. Tae-sung sat beside her, maintaining a respectful distance. You studied humans? For 3 years. Your species fascinates me. Her eyes lit up a bit. You shouldn't work, you know. Your biology is chaos. Your bodies fight themselves constantly. Your immune systems attack random things. You get sick from stress alone. You're fragile and short-lived and you die from the simplest things. She paused. And yet you survive everything. You thrive in environments that would kill us. You adapt faster than any species we've recorded. You're like a fire. Dangerous and destructive and somehow essential. Beautiful chaos, Tae-sung said, remembering the queen's words. Yes. Lysara looked at him directly. I need you to understand something. If you say yes, I will do my duty. I will be a good wife. I will bear children. But I can't promise to love you. I don't know you. I don't know if I can love someone I'm forced to marry. The honesty was brutal and refreshing. I appreciate that, Tae-sung said. Can I be honest too? She nodded. I'm terrified. Not of you. Of what this means. I joined the space service to explore. To see new things. I never wanted to be important. I never wanted history to remember my name. And now you're asking me to be the bridge between species, to have children who will be studied and judged and carry the weight of 2 civilizations. He took a breath. I don't know if I'm strong enough for that. But you're considering it, Lysara said. It wasn't a question. My sister sent me a message, Tae-sung said. Sora. She's a biologist on Earth. She said if I can save billions of lives by having children, do I have the right to say no? Is my comfort more important than a civilization's survival? That's not fair to you, Lysara said softly. No, Tae-sung agreed. But she's not wrong either. They sat in silence for a while, watching the stars. Finally, Lysara spoke again. If you say yes, I promise I'll try. To be a partner, I mean. Not just a wife by obligation. I promise to respect you, to learn about humans, to make this work as much as I can. And if I say no, then we look for other options. Other species. Other solutions, she looked away. My mother might start a genetic breeding program with volunteers from multiple species. It would take decades and might not work. More of my people would die, but Captain, I will not force you. Whatever the Valrosian Empire needs, I won't destroy your life for it. Some things are wrong even in desperation. Tae-sung felt something shift in his chest. This woman, this alien princess, was giving him an out. She was choosing his freedom over her people's survival. The courage in that was staggering. Tell me about your work, he said suddenly. The xenobiology. What's the most interesting species you've found? Lysara blinked in surprise, then slowly smiled. Are you trying to get to know me, Captain? If I'm considering marrying you, I should probably know more than your title, Tae-sung said. And please call me Tae-sung, then call me Lys, she said. Her patterns glowed a bit brighter. The most interesting species. There's a race called the Methic. They live in gas giants. Their bodies are partially energy, partially matter. We spent 2 years just learning to communicate with them. How do you talk to beings made of energy? Very carefully, Lys laughed, and the sound was surprisingly human. We had to build translation devices that could convert their electrical pulses into concepts we could understand. It was the hardest project of my life, and the most rewarding. They talked for 3 hours. About science, about space, about their families and fears and dreams. Tae-sung told her about growing up in Seoul, about joining the space service, about the first time he saw Earth from orbit and cried. Lys told him about the Valrosian homeworld, about her mother's loneliness as queen, about the weight of knowing your entire species is dying. When they finally stood to leave, something had changed. They weren't strangers anymore. They weren't quite friends, but they were two people who had seen each other's fear and loneliness and recognized something familiar. I need 1 more day, Tae-sung said. Take it, Lys replied. Whatever you decide, thank you for listening. Back on the horizon, Tae-sung sat in his quarters. He opened a communication channel to Earth, knowing the response would take time. He recorded a message for his sister. Sora, I think I'm going to say yes. Not for politics. Not for humanity. But because I met her and she's scared and she's brave and she's trying so hard to do the right thing. And maybe that's enough of a reason to try. He sent the message into the void and closed his eyes. 2 days left. But he already knew his answer.